Well, I love your setup, dude.
Yeah, dude. So it took me probably about 8 months to figure this thing out. And I had these, what do you call it? I actually bought a different like set in terms of audio interfaces. And it was just a real ball buster to kind of figure out. It was super not friendly, not to like a newbie, like because I don't know shit about.
So is this considered like newbie setup? This looks like NASA to me, man.
No, well, so the Rodecaster, this particular product was probably the best $600 I ever spent.
Okay.
Made for podcasters. Like they sat down with podcasters and were like, yo, how can we make this as simple and efficient for you as possible? And they came up with this product, and it really was a game changer for anybody that's looking to get into podcasting and doing any type of audio. Even if you're not doing podcasting, you're just doing solo camera shots, like, because you see the people on YouTube and Twitch now doing all that stuff. This thing is just, it just makes everything so clear. It helps with the sound, compressing sound. It just, all the tech nerd stuff that you'd need to spend a lot of time in school, this can kind of almost hyperdrive that learning curve for you.
Well, to tell you how bad at tech I am, I was live on Fox Sports last night on Zoom, and I had the mute button on. So I'm talking away. Like, Finn, I think you got your phone on mute. Can you press the screen on the bottom left-hand corner? There's a little red button. Hit that. You'll unmute yourself. I'm like, oh, hi, guys.
And then you're trying to remember what you said in that process.
Yeah. It was nothing important anyway.
All right.
We were talking about wrestling.
Dude, I feel like that sometimes. Technology and Zoom and stuff is just like, Zoom in particular is almost.
What made Zoom like completely take over that market? Like, because there was FaceTime, Skype, all these other like platforms that were available for years, and then I feel like COVID came in and just Zoom.
Right. I think Zoom, it's not necessarily the most user friendly. I think FaceTime is the most user friendly, but FaceTime is it's just only if you have iOS, only if you have Apple product.
Yeah.
So you limit the market right there. And then the lockdown came through, and everybody had to figure out, because people can't stop working.
Yep.
So people had to figure out how to keep working, and Zoom just right place, right time, marketing kicked in, and just everybody could use it. And people started putting YouTube videos up on like tutorials on how to use it. Because that's huge, is if you can get influencers on YouTube to do a tutorial on your product, you're in the marketplace. So I think that was just a perfect storm, right place, right time. And it was something that was needed, and people just were like, oh, here it is.
I was hearing these stories about like, people are getting together having Zoom parties. Like, you can't see your buddies, so you just drink at home, but you put everyone on Zoom on your computer. Sounds awful.
It does sound awful.
When I go home, I'll shut the door and be left alone.
I go crazy with technology. Like if I'm on my phone too much, I know. Because I start getting anxious and like I can't focus, and I get frustrated easier. I can't, my ability to like focus on other tasks goes down the drain, and I'm like, and I just throw that thing, and then I just don't look at it for the rest of the day.
I'm a list maker. I make lists of all the stuff that I have to do. But like if you have your phone, you're just, but I've tried to reduce it as much as I can. Some days I've got like 4 hours screen time for the week. You get that like notification at the end of the week. This is your total screen time has been 4 hours. That's pretty good for a week. But
hell yeah, that's really good for a week, dude.
But I think that's like when you're at home and you're busy with your own stuff and like living your life. But I feel like when we were on the road traveling, you're just like living in your phone, everything. Find Whole Foods, find coffee, find a gym, find a hotel. Check Twitter, check Instagram, and it was just like a constant cycle. I'd say it was probably like 23 hours a day of screen time.
Well, when you're on the road too, there's that like added travel time where sometimes you're stuck on a bus or you're stuck on a plane, and then it's just like dead time.
I remember when I started wrestling and I started traveling, that like the airplane was like the hardest part because it was so boring, you know. And if it didn't have good movies, you were like, oh, this flight's so long. But I feel like 20 years have passed now since I've been doing it, and now you just got your phone. You're like, the travel time became like the fun part, where like you got to text all your buddies back, like catch up on all your emails, like check everything, and like talking about the lists and me making lists. I was like, okay, text it back JP in London, text it back Sean in Ireland, text it back everyone, and like the travel time became like enjoyable in the sense of being able to like handle all of your other responsibilities outside of the wrestling, because you've got literally nothing else to do. You know, you can't work out, you're sitting in an airplane, you can't do anything. So it was either like read a book or text all your buddies, you know?
You're almost like forced to, like you're locked into a space, and it's like, yo, get shit done, or just sit here and do nothing.
Talk about getting locked into a space. You ever watch a movie on an airplane and notice how emotional you can get? Dude, I cry on airplanes all the time watching movies. Elf. I watched Elf when they all sing Jingle Bells at the end and Santa starts to fly. I cried. There was a movie, Seabiscuit, where it's about a horse. Like, of course, I cry. Any sort of movie, I'll cry my eyes out. So I've had like discussions with Sami Zayn about this, and about like how you're more emotionally available on airplanes. And there's a couple of theories. His theory is way out there. He says that like, because we're, you know, what is it, like 80% water or something like that. The human body is 80% water, and the moon affects the tides. Well, we're closer to the moon, so in theory it's affecting the fluids in our body, and that's why we're more emotionally available. I spoke to this other guy, like he was an acting coach, Howard Stern. He came to the Performance Center one time. We had a discussion about it, and he talks about like how
Howard Fine.
Yeah. What did I say?
Howard Stern. The sex radio host. Yeah.
They're kind of the same.
It's all the same shit.
Yeah. So he was saying like how when you're in a state of like transition where you're either normally going from home to work or work to home, or like can be like an emotional process, and you can be more emotionally available because of what you're thinking. Oh, I'm going home to family, or you're leaving family and you're going to work, or you're going to this new like exciting adventure. So, but I've always been so interested, like any movie at all, I'll cry my eyes out on the airplane. I'll be like, you know, wiping the tears, weighing the person next to me, like, what the hell is up with that guy? Is he okay?
I wonder also if it has something to do with when you're traveling, especially in an airplane, because I think we get numb to it because we fly and travel so much, but flying in an airplane is a stressful situation for a lot of people.
Yeah. So stressful.
So you get locked. Your parasympathetic system is just like, you're just up through the roof, right? And your like nerves are jacked. And even if you're used to it, like we are, I think still you know, there's something happening in your body. You're flying 30,000 feet in the air. You're in a pressurized aluminum tube. You're also probably more focused because you are so locked in, like we said.
Yeah, I think that's definitely pays like some part of the process with being like so emotional. But I think what you're saying is true. Like, we take for granted how stressful it is, like going through security, even getting there on time, finding a parking spot, getting through security, checking your bags, all this stuff. And then finally, like, you sit down and like you put on a rom com, and it's just like, oh, this is what life's supposed to be. You know?
Bro, when you get on the plane, nothing is more relieving than when you finally get through security, get through the gate, get onto the plane and into your seat, and you're just like, just like, I made it.
So do you line up to get on the plane, or do you wait till everyone else is on and then just get on?
I wait.
Yeah, I'm the same.
Because it's like my spot's not going anywhere.
Yeah, the less time I'm on that plane, the better. I'm a big waiter. I'll wait at the gate, let everyone else go on. Once or twice, I've actually almost missed a plane because I'll fall asleep at the gate.
Oh, okay.
I'll board up, do last call. I'll be literally sitting at the gate.
That would be the worst way to miss a flight, is like be there and then like fall asleep.
I'll tell you a story. We were in Buffalo, New York, and it was me and Hawkins. We were riding together, and we were flying back to New York City after a Raw. So it was like a Tuesday morning at like 6 a.m. And we're at the airport and we see Heath Slater at another gate, like 3 gates down, and there was nobody to his gate. So we said, oh, let's go over and talk to Heath. We'll kill some time. We've got like an hour to wait. So we go over and talk to Heath. We're shooting the shit for a while, whatever. We look over at our gate. There's nobody there. We're like, oh, maybe they moved the gate. So like Hawkins like runs over and checks it out. They've shut the doors. So we're literally, dude, it's a window like this behind you. We're banging on the window. Someone comes up like the jet bridge. They open the door and he goes, we were calling you guys for like 30 minutes. You guys not hear us? No, we didn't hear. So like we literally almost missed the flight. We were there an hour and 30 minutes beforehand just because of Heath Slater. But thankfully they let us on. But we were blessed, man.
Dude. So like I've never heard a story of when the door closes of anybody getting on.
Yeah.
So you got Jesus.
Yes, we couldn't believe it, but it was a small flight. We were like had a lot of like I guess pull with the airline. We were like the flyer miles, so I guess they didn't want to leave us behind or bump us. There was no flight out to like 8 p.m. or something. Regardless, we're banging on the window, we're banging on the door, and then they opened the door and let us in. It was great,
dude. Rom coms though.
P.S.
P.S. I love you.
Yeah.
That probably is the one that has done me in the hardest.
Yeah. That's actually shot like in the surrounding areas of where I grew up.
Was it really?
Yeah.
Is Gerard Butler, is he Irish?
He's Scottish.
Scottish,
yeah.
Okay.
I'm not sure if he's from Edinburgh or Glasgow, but he's Scottish. And he was like a super late to the party like actor. Like I think he had a regular job. And maybe like in his late 20s, he said, fuck this, I want to be an actor. And I think he moved to London and started acting, and good for him, man. It all came together.
He got that 300 role, and rest is history.
Yeah. What other rom-coms are good, man? Anything with Hugh Grant I like.
Yeah.
Love Actually.
I haven't seen that one.
You like that one?
I haven't seen it.
Oh, dude, it's a rom-com based in England. There's kind of like 5 or 6 different stories going at one time. They all come together at the end.
Okay.
It's Hugh Grant and a bunch of other people, but that's a good one if you check it out. And it's based around Christmas, so it's even better. Christmas and rom-coms, what's better,
dude?
Man?
I feel like because they nail you twice. They hit you with love, and then they hit you with that Christmas spirit, bro.
Yeah.
And it's just like, man, I'm just getting hit all over the place.
There's like 5 or 6 stories, but like you can relate to like each piece of each different story, like from a different angle. It's beautiful, man.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to say it's beautiful. It's a rom-com, but it's a great airplane movie.
Dude, did you always like rom-coms?
I'm not sure what I always liked, but definitely like in my mid to late 20s, like they were always on the airplanes, always. And there's a great one, The Family Stone. Have you seen that? Mm-mm. With like Owen Wilson's brother.
Oh, okay.
And the girl from Sex and the City. That's a great one.
Jessica Sarah Parker?
Yes.
Okay.
That's a great one. It's almost like an American version of Love Actually. And it's based at Christmas too, a family all returning home. But, dude, so good.
Yeah, I feel like there was like a certain age that I hit. Because like before, I was like too tough and manly, right? To be caught watching that shit.
I think it's when you finally start believing in love and you don't really want anything too serious, like with regards like the movie. You just want like something easy to digest and not have to think about it too much. But like real life situations, not like, Star Wars blasters and lightsabers and stuff, So
tactical nukes and shit, trying to save the world.
Yeah, but honestly, dude, I like almost every genre of movies. Almost every genre. So I got married to a Mexican girl, so I want to say the last year I've been watching like all like Latin American movies and just reading the subtitles, but they're awesome, dude. And like Latin American movies, I don't want to talk shit about Hollywood or whatever or anything, because everything's got its good points and its bad points, but the way they tell the stories and like the cinematography in these movies is unbelievable.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't ask me any of the names, because as soon as I watch them, they fly out the window. There was one actually we watched last week, and it was a boyfriend for my wife, but I guess it's been remade a bunch of times, and it's been remade here, but it was originally an Argentinian movie, and it was in Buenos Aires or something. So like we watched the original. It was great, dude. Great.
Okay, I'm gonna have to check that out. I've been trying to learn Spanish.
Oh, dude.
And so like my lady is like, she's like half Spanish. So, and she speaks Spanish. So she's been like teaching me Spanish. And then I downloaded Duolingo.
Okay.
I've been kind of using that.
Yeah.
And I've been thinking, whenever it becomes more accessible to start traveling,
Yep.
I'm thinking about moving to a different country. And I'm thinking about moving somewhere in South America.
Dude, Mexico City is my favorite place in the world.
Really?
It's unbelievable. The food, the people, the culture, the architecture, the colors, the noise, the energy, the food. It's unbelievable, man. I love it. Love it.
I might have to put that on one of my places.
Yeah.
Then.
But honestly, anywhere in Mexico, it's such a beautiful country, dude. I love it down there. I like people used to always say, "Oh, where do you see yourself living? Like when you're done wrestling, or what are you gonna do? Are you gonna stay in America?" And like I never really had like an idea because I'm Irish. All my family's in Ireland. I'm here by myself wrestling. So if I finish wrestling, sure, I've got a couple of buddies, but there's nothing really that ties me to the States, right? So like met Veronica, we got married, and like now I'm like, oh, Mexico, I love it so much. She's got her family down there, so I think like dream scenario for me would be to like split the time 50-50 between Ireland and
Mexico City.
Yeah, and maybe like sprinkle in a little bit of the US if I can, and maybe 30-30-30 or something like that. Yeah, but yeah, I love Mexico, man.
You're this is something that I've noticed about you since I've met you, is like you, not just because of wrestling, you like traveling, but like you have like a wanderer spirit where you like, even when you have free time, you're traveling to different places.
Yeah, so I don't know, man. I don't know. It's funny because I remember being a kid and like being like 14, and my aunt lived in Boston, and it's very common for Irish people to emigrate to a different country. And I remember like my aunt emigrated to US and set up a life in Boston and had a family there, but I could never understand why she would like leave her home, leave her hometown, leave her family, everyone she knows, and just leave it all behind. And I think like when I was 18 and I had to travel to UK to start wrestling. So I think like at 18 I started traveling so much that I started to become more at home on the road. Maybe because of the wrestling, but maybe because I was spending time by myself and not like surrounded by people that have like completely different interests than I do, you know, because in Ireland, Irish people are great, but they don't really think the same way I think because of this obsession with wrestling. And there was no like wrestling culture at the time even the people that were interested in it weren't interested in pursuing it like at my age. So I felt like I had this urge to kind of want to travel and see different places. And yeah, man, pretty much since 18 I've been on the go. And apart from this COVID, like I've never been in. I had an argument with my wife the other day. I said like we were kind of just getting on each other's tits, basically, just we're around each other all the time. And I said, of course we're getting on each other's tits. We've been locked in this house essentially for 6 months. Neither of us have been in one place for 6 months in our life. Like, you know, we're always traveling and working and doing whatever. So like, I don't know, but I don't even know what we're talking about. I love traveling.
Yes.
I took 3 months off wrestling last year, and like people were like, oh man, it's going to be good. You're going to stay home. Dude, I went to Mexico. I went to Japan. I went to Greece. I went to England. I went home to Ireland. We went to Bratislava. We went to Switzerland. So we just went as many places as possible. And I'd been gone like, I want to say 4 months. But when I came back on NXT, I'd actually only returned to US like 2 days before.
Okay.
So I'd been like on the go. So from the SummerSlam, like I peaced out at SummerSlam on the Monday morning. I flew to Orlando, picked up my bags. Tuesday flew to Mexico, and then we were on the road pretty much like me and her for almost 3 months, I think. I came back and went straight back to work.
Hell yeah.
Like, man, you must be really rested. I'm like, no. I actually came back to work to get a rest.
You almost need a vacation from the vacation.
I know, I did, man.
What time? So you said you had to travel to the UK
Yeah.
from Ireland
Yeah.
to start wrestling.
Yeah.
At what age was that?
That was 18 years old.
18 years old.
Yeah.
So that's when you started wrestling?
Yeah. So that was the year 2000. I had just finished high school. We call it secondary school, but essentially it's high school. And it's at this point in your life where you get the opportunity to either enroll in college, which in Ireland it's kind of like state funded once you get like particular grades, or you go and just get a job. And for me, I just didn't really want to do anything except be a wrestler, and got a job at a train station, kind of fund this habit of like this hobby of like wanting to be a wrestler. So I'd work at the train station for like 2 weeks. I had a boss that was great. He let me take as much time off as I needed. I'd go to UK for 2 weeks, train there, and pretty much flip-flop back and forth. That was like for like 3 years. After 3 years had passed, I'm about 21, and my coach in England, who's like runs the gym or whatever, he says, you're not the finished product at all, but you know enough that like you can coach guys up on the basics. So how about like between us, we set up a gym in Ireland. Like I'll put my name on it. You can coach like the beginners. Once they get up to a certain level, you bring them over to UK, and then we keep it going that way. So that was kind of like the idea. And so I'm like 21. All of a sudden, I've got this wrestling school in Ireland. I really don't know what I'm doing at all. Like I still don't. I feel, but like I'm 21. Me and my buddy have got this school, and I feel like that helped me grow more, because even though like I was being taught stuff in England, having the gym there in Ireland and being able to like use it like 4 or 5 days a week, I felt like the amount of time I was spending in the ring like multiplied infinitely. And it's kind of weird, because a coach can be very restricting, and you're kind of like nervous to be around him and nervous to try new things. And when all of a sudden I own this ring, this is mine, I can do whatever I want, you start like trying new things, and there's no one kind of critiquing you, so you're not afraid to like fuck up or make a mistake, or like, he won't like this, so I won't do this. So it really helped me kind of grow, like, and kind of develop my own style, and not really care what anyone else's opinion was, and kind of just, paint my own shit whatever way I wanted it. So that was like a huge growing process for me. Even though I was supposed to be the coach, I actually like really like developed so much, not only from like coaching and like being in there a lot, but having this kind of like free canvas to kind of like do whatever you want,
Yeah, well, it's what do they say? When you teach, like you learn twice, right? And there's like, because when you teach somebody, I've learned this through, because when I got done playing football and before I started wrestling, there was like a little bit of a time period in between, and I thought I was going to get into coaching football. And I would do like camps with guys, and I would like teach these techniques, and sometimes it would be shit that I thought I had ingrained in me, right? Because I've been doing it at that point for like 10, 12 years or whatever. Yep. But then when I'm having to verbalize it to people, it's like, oh, wait, do I know this? Like, do I really know this as well as I thought I knew it? And then it forces me to be able to articulate it. Like, I've got to be able to configure the thoughts in my brain appropriately for a beginner, someone who doesn't have any knowledge, to understand what I'm saying. And it forces me to relearn what I already know in a different way.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's just like, I imagine that's probably what that process was.
Yeah. So I'm 21. We've got this school. This kind of goes on till I'm about like 24. And at this point, I'm feeling like big fish in a small pond kind of deal. Like I know that like this is as good as I'm going to get if I stay in this environment. And, I need to change something. And best thing to do would be like, I didn't know where to start, but I knew that like in Europe, there wasn't really anything at the time. So best thing to do was my aunt, who's in Boston. Oh, I'll go stay with her for a little while. So flew to Boston, started wrestling around some local indie shows, just going to every like wrestling school that I could find, start training with all those guys. Somehow I ended up on this show in Nashville. I do this show in Nashville. I come back through the curtain, and there's a guy there, and he says, hey, we really liked your match. We want you to come and train with us at the Inoki Dojo in California. And this is like a super elite, like world-renowned, like New Japan dojo in California. And this guy's here in like his official jumpsuit and all, and he's inviting me there. So I'm like, wow, I can't believe this is happening, man. All I had to do was like get out of that environment that I'd kind of like, not imprisoned myself in, but like kind of you don't realize how restricted you are, you know? And then once I'd just taken myself out, within like 3 months, I'm like getting this opportunity to go train with these guys that like are like super elite, super established, like promotion in California. So of course, no problem, I'll go to California. We lived in a warehouse, basically. It had a matted area, a ring. Me and Carl Anderson, he was also there at the time. We slept in sleeping bags. We ate spaghetti out of the tin and like cartoned egg whites, like mixed in together. We would get sick like once a week, like vomiting and diarrhea, like just. But like, it was such a cool experience, man. We're there like we wake up, we train, we eat, we train again, we go to sleep, and that's the day. And we were doing that like 5 days a week. That was amazing. Eventually, long story short, there's like a visit from the office in Tokyo just to check up on the building. By sheer happenstance, I was in the ring training at the time, and the president of the company goes, "Oh, I like that guy. I want to give him a tryout in Tokyo." So they come to me and they say, "Hey, do you want to do like a 3-month tryout kind of trial in the dojo in Tokyo?" And I said, "Yeah, of course, dude. What else am I gonna do?" Because bear in mind, I'm in US on like a tourist visa, so
right.
like I'm here not illegally, but like I have like a set block of time. So I went to Boston and a little bit of LA, and then I had to go home. And I stayed home for like a month, and then I had to come in on another tourist visa, and I got questioned at immigration and stuff like that. But it was all like, I wasn't working, but it's pretty sketchy. What are you doing coming in and out? So I was literally just training. So eventually I was gonna have to leave anyway and go home to Ireland. But then they say, "Hey, do you want to go to Japan?" "Yeah, no shit, I'll be on the next flight." So they took me to Japan, started there, what was supposed to be like a 3-month internship of like cleaning the ring, like watching the guys wrestle, cooking the food, cleaning the toilets, like kind of like carrying their bags, washing the wrestlers' gears. Like that kind of turned into an 8-year career in Japan, you know? So like you kind of start at the bottom. I was supposed to stay there 3 months. On the last day I was going to fly home, they say, "Hey, we want you to come back. You know that, right?" And I was like, "No, nobody's told me," because there was such like a huge like language barrier, culture barrier. Like I was kind of property of the gym in LA, even though I was completely independent and free. So it was kind of like a weird situation, but eventually the last day I was kind of like saying goodbyes, and they're like, "Oh, no, we want you to come back. Like as soon as you go to Ireland, we'll get you a visa. You fly straight back here." And that 3 months turned into 8 years.
Hell yeah. That's so that I just, for anybody that is listening to this, that is like the fact that you had the way you paid like to get to where you were at, right? Eating SpaghettiOs, right? Sleeping in a sleeping bag, living in a warehouse, doing whatever it took to like get to where you're at. Because there's a lot of people that are listening to this or will listen to this that have dreams, right? And a lot of times I hear people always saying like, "I don't have the resources to obtain such things, whatever it is, or I don't know how to do it." But you said, "I didn't know how to do it. I just started doing shit." And I'm a firm believer that the universe rewards hustle. And like, sure enough, I mean, think about 2 of those major opportunities happen just at a sheer happenstance of you just working.
Yeah.
And someone seeing you put in work and be like,
But like,
"Let me give this guy an opportunity."
But it's so weird because it's not work. Like you're chasing your dreams, so you don't even feel like you're working. You don't even like feel like you're sleeping in a warehouse in a sleeping bag eating SpaghettiOs. You think, "I'm chasing my dream. I'm getting to wrestle every day."
The hustle.
It was incredible, And I remember like in the warehouse in Santa Monica, like living this like super like tough lifestyle. I was so happy, dude. Like all I would do is wake up, like shower, train, eat, train again, go to sleep. That was it. In a sleeping bag with my buddy Chad, and
Right.
like we're just hanging out all day. I remember they told me, "Hey, we want to bring you to Tokyo." I'm like, "Yeah, hell yeah." But, you're not going to be staying at a hotel. You have to stay at the dojo. I'm like, "Dude, I'll stay anywhere." So I get to the dojo. The dojo is actually just a house. So
It's an upgrade.
Exactly. I had a bed. So that, like, they bring me into this room. They said, there's like 4 bunk beds in this room. Like, you're going to have to stay in this room. I said, there's fucking 4 bunk beds. I got a bed. Like, I'm like working my way up the ladder, you know? So I'm like 24 going, I got a bed from wrestling, dude. Like, that's it, you know? So that's, people talk about like, it's such a hard struggle, but it's not when you're in love with the process of trying to get somewhere. And I feel like the people that aren't in love with it or don't really want it, that's when it becomes hard. But I don't feel like anything I've done in my journey was difficult at all, ever.
Right.
And but like going back to like training, so like I get trained at like 18, and then I kind of start coaching people at like 21, but then I get taken to California, so they retrain me again in their style at like 23, 24. Then I get taken to Tokyo, and they're like, no, forget about all that. We're going to retrain you again. So at 24 to 25, 26, they're training me in their style. Then I come to US and NXT, and like I've been wrestling now at this point like 14 years and like done it everywhere.
Right.
And I come to NXT and they go, hey, we want you to start in the beginners class. I'm like, hell yeah. Like I get to like retrain again. So like I feel like I'm like the most over-trained performer, right, like in the world with regards like the amount of like training classes I've actually done. And I feel like that's like helped me so much in my career, like with like details. Like you talk about like a lot of times when people like start wrestling training, first thing you learn to lock up, you learn a headlock, you learn to shoot off the ropes and a tackle. But like once you kind of do that and you master that, you never really go back to practicing it or drilling it again. Right. I feel like I've drilled it like for seasons of my life, like in huge periods of time in like different styles. So I feel like that's really helped me kind of like just run through everything like super smoothly in the ring, where I don't even need to think about it because I'm so heavily like drilled in all these different, I don't know, genres of wrestling. I don't know what you want to call them, but like styles or techniques. So with regards, like a lot of people are saying, man, you're doing this a long time. What the fuck are you doing at the performance center? Like, well, how dare they disrespect you and send you to the performance center? Where I'm like, oh, hell yeah, dude. I get to go back and train and learn from like a different coach, like Robbie Brookside, Terry Taylor, all these other guys, and like learn what they've learned like throughout their years. And eventually I'll get a chance to like slip it into my matches, you know? So I feel like people need to like really embrace like education. And I didn't embrace education in school, like from like a book standpoint, simply because I wasn't interested.
Right.
But like I'm highly interested in wrestling. So like any education I could get, like I wanted it, you know. And anytime I had a chance to like talk to a different like performer that had, you know, wrestled in different places or came before me and paved the way, like I always wanted to like get their opinion. And even like I'm super interested in getting people's opinion that have no idea what wrestling is, and like try to explain it to them.
Mm-hmm.
Or like, you know, guys that come in from football like yourself and other guys, like I've always kind of been drawn by the people who've like trained really, really hard at anything. Like there was like there's a lot of guys at the performance center come in from like jiu-jitsu, like yourself from football, like, you know, Rawless from football, like all these guys. I don't know what it is, but there seems to be some sort of like unspoken like connection.
Yeah.
That like, even though it's a completely different like discipline or sport, it's still the same core thing that connects us all, and that's that drive to like want to
get better.
Get better, yeah.
Yeah. No, it's like, you know, right? It's like you said, that unspoken language that like you just, especially being in the performance center, a place where so many different types of characters come in.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
I remember when you came in and you had all this heat for like no reason. I don't know why, but like I keep hearing this Dan Matha, this, Dan Matha, that. Oh yeah, he's got an ego. And I hadn't even seen you. You know, I'd kind of like walk into PC with the blinders on and do my business and get out of there. And I remember finally seeing you and go, they got this all wrong. Like I didn't even need to like speak to you. And I remember like walking up to you on the turf at in the PC gym, and like we had a little chat, and like straight away I knew like it's not him, it's everyone else like that has the problem. And I feel like the issue is they don't want to work as hard as he wants to work.
Yeah.
But
I appreciate you recognizing that. I was just telling somebody the other day, because I was saying how somebody wanted to do something with me today, and I was like, nah, I got this, I got something lined up with, and I dropped your name, and they're like, oh yeah, blah, blah, blah. And they said, I always heard, somebody that doesn't know you. It was like somebody but is a wrestling fan, someone that I'm like close friends with. And they're like, I've always heard, I don't know the guy, but I've heard good things about him. And I brought up the first time like we met and talked, and I just was like, he was the first dude that was like anybody in the company that just treated me like a human being, that just like came up to me, approached me like a man, talked to me. We engaged in a normal conversation. There was no like weird pettiness. There was no ego in between us. It just was like, hey, I'm Fergal, yada, yada, yada. We started, I think I probably said something crazy to make you laugh. You know what I mean? I probably, if we were in the weight room, I was talking shit or whatever, And then, I just was like, I just had a great amount of respect for you, because you were, especially at that time, dude, you were NXT. That was like when NXT was on your back. Like I know NXT went through like different stages with different performers, and they kind of had like a nice little spurt before you had got there. But like you had spent you were there for like 2 years before?
I think 2 or 3 maybe.
That time period that you were there, you fucking carried that place single-handedly. I'm talking about, and like this is what I first came in, and I don't really know shit about wrestling yet. I had trained for 6 months before I'd got to the performance center. So I had like the most basic of understanding of what wrestling is, but I really didn't know what wrestling was yet at the point. But I do know top performers when I see one. And I do know like quality character when I see one. And I'm seeing the biggest, baddest entertainer in our fucking company treating, somebody who has no status, that, is like, I'm not really anybody in the regards of that, but just treat me with a great amount of respect. And then also treat not just me, but other people, the way you carried yourself, the way you would go to some of the smaller venues that we would go to, and you would hear people in the locker room bitching and complaining. And listen, it does suck going to some of those small ass places. And I can only imagine how hard it can be for a guy like you that's used to filling up the Tokyo Dome, right? 30, 60,000 people, whatever that number is, coming to a place where it fits like, maybe 200-300 people, but you sold that thing out. Every place we went to, you sold out, and you would come through that curtain, and like there'd be times where you would be beat to shit from whatever. Maybe you traveled for the weekend before, or the weekend before you had a big takeover, whatever. And I could just see before you'd go through the curtain, your body was just hurting. And I remember one time in particular, you were like, your body language was just saying like, oh man, I'm hurting. And then like I was like, man, I've never seen Finn like this. Music hits, you go through the curtain, and your whole body changed, dude. And you were in, and the crowd, you have the sickest entrance, by the way. But you just go through, just completely like that, just changed everything, and went out and you put a 20-minute show for everybody, and like just did your thing. And I just was like, that dude is I've been around a lot of confident alpha high achievers, and I was like, he is one of them. And he just went and did his thing, and I just have big respect. I've always had big respect for you ever since I met you. So I appreciate that you saw that in me from the jump.
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of like, it's hard to explain, like, like dogs pissing on a tree kind of attitude, where like, this is my house kind of.
Yeah.
Why are these guys coming into my business? And for me, I feel like that, like, we're all humans. We're all just trying to get on in life. Wrestling's not really that important. It's just like what we do and what we're trying to, like, essentially we do it to get paid to, of course, it starts out as a dream and what we want in life to like fulfill this like urge as a kid to like, aspire to be something. But it gets to a point where it's now I have an apartment, a car, electricity bill, and they all have to be paid. And like when we walk into the performance center and there's like 100 guys there, I don't feel like it's 100 guys all against each other. I don't feel like it's 99 guys are my enemy. I feel like, all right, these guys are all on my team. And if even one of those guys does well enough, the whole team is going to get a little rise out of that. Because like if one guy can help the business enough, like it's going to make the business better. And like there's an old saying, like when the tide comes in, all the boats rise.
Right.
And like I really feel like that we need more people in wrestling like that come from different walks of life that weren't just mega fans.
Right.
Because being a mega fan is great, and I was one and am one, but there needs to be like layers to the industry, and I don't think Ultimate Warrior was a mega fan. You know? But like look how much of a superstar he was. And it really like saddens me to think that so many people entered the performance center, and because of this kind of like territorialism, like were forced out of the business before they even got a chance to change it. And imagine like how many like Hogans we had, Warriors, Savages, or like Rocks that were at the performance center that just for some reason didn't click with someone, had heat with someone, and and it kind of like just it went its way and it ran its course, and they're no longer in the business. And that's like one of the hardest things for me to accept, is like that people don't in the business, not in the performance center, but in the business as a whole, don't get a proper chance sometimes. So for me, I would always like to introduce myself to everyone when they come in, and just know that like this isn't like a competition between like me and you. Like we're here to do the same thing and like make this place better. And
we're a team.
Exactly, we're a team. And dude, I would love to be in the ring with you. Love it. It would be absolute cake. And like I see a guy like you like across the ring, and I'm just going, oh, it's like butter in my mouth, dude. It's like I just love that stuff. Braun Strowman, I love it.
The story just is already written.
It's already written, and like wrestling's the circus, dude. I'm like, we need guys like me, and we need guys like you, and we need like a juggler, we need a tightrope walker, we need everything. And like, not to harp on it, but people like me that are like fans of wrestling and purists and want to like do everything perfectly, that's just one part of wrestling.
Yeah.
And like we need to like fill all the spectrums, like, and load all the bases of all the spectrums, so like we can have like a really good show. So like getting to see people come into the business like from different walks of life is like, for me, is like so cool. Like people like Babatunde, Adrian coming in from his mixed martial arts background and stuff. So I don't know, I'm an open door policy, man. I'm like, bring everyone in, give them a fair shot, like be nice, be humble. We're all doing this for the same thing, for like with the same goal, and just have some fun, man.
Yeah. Well, it's like you scour the earth for all these unique characters, right? And like legitimately scour the earth. It doesn't matter where you are. If you have some sort of unique talent or ability, like they're going to find you. Yeah. And bring you in. And to me, that was one of the coolest parts of the job, is being able to meet people from so many different walks of life. For me now, walking into the performance center, it's like going to like Universal. Yeah. Because it's like a ride. Like, oh, who am I going to meet today? Like what like incredible human am I going to meet today? Like what story have they had? Because everyone's had like this incredible story and journey to get to like that room, like in that moment, and that like crossing of the paths where like I'm just walking in to do some training, and this person's came from India, like probably jump borders illegally, like being on boats, all sorts. Like everyone's got such a unique story, and like we can learn from that, not even about wrestling but about life. You know, I got dude, I love people's stories. I got in an Uber the other day, and I was going to some restaurant and just making small talk with the Uber driver, and I said, where are you from? He goes, oh, I'm from Mexico. I said, oh, cool.
my wife's from Mexico. I said, oh, nice. I said, how long are you here? He goes, 28 years now. I said, oh, cool. I said, how did you get here? He says, oh, well, for 3 days and for 3 nights, I walked across the desert. I'm like, whoa, what a story, dude. And he's just like living his life, but like to have that experience, like he like walked across the desert for 3 days and 3 nights to set up his life in the United States. Like, how cool is that? And how like proud could you be? Like, we talk about all these like accomplishments in wrestling and I held this title and that title. That's nothing compared to like an achievement like that.
Yeah.
You know, like that's something that you could really like look back and go, fuck, I done that, man. That's cool.
You like traveled borders, cross borders to a foreign land to like try and like start from literally the bottom.
Yeah.
And find your way to like build something up for your family, to like give your family the like best chance possible to succeed. Incredible. Yeah. I have a great deal of affection for like immigrants or like foreigners that come to this country, because my grandparents are Italian immigrants. So when I was younger, they would always like tell me the story of how they came over to, you know, to the new country. And like my great grandfather and my great uncle came over right after the war, right after World War II. They came over first. They worked over in the States for 3 years. Now, like, they didn't fly a plane, bro. They got on some rickety ass boat and lived like they were at the bottom of the boat next to the boiler room. And they like were on this boat in this hot ass room for 4 weeks across the sea. And then came and worked in the steel mills for 3 years to save up enough money to send my great grandmother and then my grandfather over. And then they went through that same process to come over and to set up, which then, you know, they found jobs and worked. And my grandpa, my great uncle, like got an education here, which then eventually led to my grandfather and my mom, which then inevitably led to me being able to be here. Right here, right now. And it's just like, I have sometimes I get emotional when I like really sit and think about it. I get like really emotional and like, I'm so grateful for my Nona and my Nona, because like they made they moved from the small village in the mountains of like Rockapia, which is like 50 miles east of Rome. And like this little small village people, right, just like made a decision to like get on a boat and cross the world to an unknown land, just so that their offspring could have a better life, which was me. Like I'm a direct correlation to what they did. So like, it's just like, man, I wouldn't even be here and have the opportunities that I have if it wasn't for that. So it's just like, I love hearing that shit.
But dude, even going back to like what we were talking about earlier with like the stress of like air travel.
Yeah.
Like they got on that boat not knowing if that boat was even going to make it to the US. And like for 4 weeks, it's so incredible, man. The amount of stuff we take for granted in this age. And I know it's a very difficult time for a lot of people, but like I'm so grateful for everything that I have. And I feel like that like gratitude definitely like pays in some way back towards you from the universe, you know? But yeah, what a story. I feel like when you really look at it, every one of your ancestors successfully held on to life and like passed it on to you. And it's such a beautiful thing, but it's so simple that like the most important thing that we have is life. It's the only really important thing, and it's gonna go eventually. You know, we're all gonna die. But like every one of our ancestors successfully, like
they passed it along.
Yeah, they passed it along. It's such a beautiful way of looking at it, I feel.
I think that is like our sole purpose here on this planet, is to take the life that was given to us, to grow, like you said, education, find something that you love and like dig deep into it, grow, garner as many experiences as you can, travel, meet as many different people as you can. And then there's going to come a point in your life where hopefully in that process you can pass things along, but you're going to come to a point where you've attained a certain amount of knowledge and feel secure enough within yourself where then it's like you've got to start splitting or adding a major part of your life where now it's like you're paying it forward to the people around you, to your kids if you have kids, because now it's your duty to like what everyone did to get you to where you were at, because there's no self-made man, you know?
Absolutely.
Because like I think about it all the time. A lot of people will say like, oh man, dude, you're like so motivated, you're so driven, like you've achieved a lot of things and like you've done it all on your own. And like from the outside, it may look like that, but I look back on all the different things that I've gone through, and if it wasn't for different teachers, coaches, random strangers that the universe just brought into my life, that even if it was just for a 20-minute conversation, said something that like profoundly changed the course of the rest of my life, you know? And it's just like, I've had so many different people just get brought into my life that like, if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be here today. And some have stuck around for a long time, and some were only in my life for a glimpse of a moment, but they all changed who I am. And like, I just feel like that's my mission now, is to like try and give back to as many people as I can in the process.
I love it, man. Wow, you're getting me emotional, dude.
Well, dude, hearing your story, bro, I mean, like your story's got me all juiced up over here, man.
Dude, I got a good story, right? So like being like in WWE and in the limelight, you get like a lot of requests to do like, hey, you know, my cousin's your biggest fan. Can you do like a little birthday message for him? And like, you know, you'll do these messages like every day, 2, 3, 4 a day sometimes. And like, it was kind of not getting to the point where it's tedious, but like, you're not really even, you're just going, oh, hey, Jimmy, heard it's your 10th birthday. Happy birthday, buddy. Too sweet. Hope you have a good one. Have some cake for me. And like, boop. And you think nothing of it. Yeah, and you think nothing of it. So it was my 39th birthday last weekend. And
congratulations, bro.
Thank you. And I haven't been home since Christmas of last year. So coming up on like 8 months or something. But very stressful in the sense that I don't know when I can go home because of the current situation. So it feels like a lot longer than 8 months. So it was my birthday, and my wife had arranged for all my family and friends back home in Ireland to do videos for me without my knowledge. And she put it on the TV, like without my knowledge. I thought we were gonna watch a movie, and she put it on. And dude, I got so emotional. I was crying. I had to stop it. Like, I'm even starting to get emotional now. It was like, like the gesture she made of like arranging all this to like, for me to like show her love, and she knew that I missed him so much. B, like my family actually doing it and taking the time to do the video, and like see the realization of like, this is what I'm doing for people like on a day-to-day basis, and like kind of taking it not for granted, but like not treating it with the respect that I should. And like, it was so emotional, dude. I think I cried for about like 6 hours that afternoon. And I was so tired the next day. It was just like a complete emotional flush of just everything just released out of my body. Like, I'm not just talking tears, like energy left. Like, I don't know what happened, but it was such like a,
a spiritual purge.
Yeah, it was so beautiful. Like, it was painful. Like, I couldn't stop crying. We couldn't watch a movie later. We couldn't do nothing. Like, the day was over. It's like 4 p.m. in the afternoon. The day was over. We done nothing else. We talked about the video. We watched it again. I tried to explain how I was feeling. I couldn't quite understand it at that moment. Like, I was like being thankful to her, thankful to my family, and just trying to like digest everything. But man, it was so beautiful, dude. But like I can't even put it into words, but to have like people do that for you is, when you're so used to like doing it for other people, was so beautiful, dude. I can't put it into words.
There's something about a gift that didn't require any money.
No.
You know what I mean? Yeah. All it took was like time and effort.
Yeah.
Right. And it was like, I mean, think about it. People take so many selfies nowadays or pictures, like it's like you said, it's almost like meaningless, but like to do it, to have someone organize, someone that loves you, and then to gather people that love you, to send you little like, I mean, that's like a warm heart. That's a heartwarming little story you got there, bro.
Yeah. I think I'll watch that video again later on tonight.
Hell yeah. How was turning 30? Like, how was that experience for you turning 39?
Oh, no problem.
Yeah.
No problem. I feel better at 39 than I did when I was like 29. I was so beat up when I was 29. I was wrestling this insane style, like long matches, lots of head drops, training too hard on top of that. The travel was really intense in Japan, where we were traveling on a bus all the time, and probably not understanding my own body well enough. And like, I was a little heavier too at the time. Like, I was kind of working around 205, and I feel like now I float right around 179 to 182, like in between those, depending on what time of day.
That's your sweet spot?
That's the sweet spot, dude. And man, I feel better than ever. I remember when I turned 30, and like, that's kind of like a big one for people.
Yeah.
And I remember like this kind of like anxiety building up in me, like for a couple of weeks, like leading up to like my 30th birthday. And I woke up in Tokyo on my 30th birthday, and I woke up and I remember just feeling this complete calmness. And it was almost like, thank fuck my 20s are over. Like, this is now like peace, no pressure. You're an adult. And like, I really feel like people like underestimate the pressure of like your 20s. And like, even my 30s now, I'm thinking like, bring on 40, man. I'm done with the 30s. But I can't complain about anything, dude. I'm 39. I feel great. I work out less than ever. Schedule's reduced drastically thanks to COVID, sadly. But I'm sure we'll get back running 100 miles an hour pretty soon. But
yeah,
man, life is good.
Dude, you got a great schedule now. Even before COVID, you had a
so I went
well-earned schedule.
Yeah, so I'd been working from 2000 until last August, which was 19 years without taking a break, unless like, it was some sort of injury, like a month off or something, or the shoulder injury, which I had. But the shoulder injury, I actually worked harder when I was out than when I was fit, because I was doing rehab 3 times a day to try and get it back, to get it going, and the stress of the injury and the pressure of trying to come back. So that actually felt harder than like when you're actually working, because once you're working, you're just kind of in the zone, and you're going and you're going and you're going. So I've been going for like 19 years straight up until SummerSlam last August. And I just came to a point where I just needed a break. And not so much physically, it was more mentally, to be by myself and kind of be away from the boys. I love the boys, but it gets to a point where like it's just too intense. And when you're around them all the time, you just need some space. And I just needed space from everything. The business, like bookers, writers, like just schedules, I just needed a space from everything. It just become too intense, and I was turning into a different person that like I didn't like I was snapping at people, I wasn't giving people time, like in conversations. I was turning into like a bitter dick, essentially, and I could feel it like building and building, and thankfully the company gave me some time to kind of get my head straight and get better. And when I came back, the idea was pitched around to go to NXT, and I was like, hell yeah, let's do it. So I went from working like 172 matches a year to working maybe like 50 matches a year, which is like, it's a huge drop.
It's huge.
And when you think about like the 172 matches, that's different cities every night too.
Right.
So by proxy, add in, if you're on the road every week, that's 52 days extra just to travel home. So that's, now you're talking about 223 days a year on the road, minimum, not including if you're like stuck in, I don't know, Singapore or something someday on a layover. So
that's all stuff that people don't realize. It's not just like, it's not like, oh, I travel to here, I perform here, and I travel home. No, there's so many variables that can happen, like delayed flight, stuck in the air, weather delays, whatever.
Exactly, man. And there was one year that I was home 52 days that year, like in my apartment. 52 days in a whole year I was home. Because I was paying like this extortionate amount of rent. I was going like, worked out on the calendar all the days I was on the road. I was like, I paid this for like 52 days just to leave my bags here. Like, didn't even feel like home.
Was that when you were living in Brooklyn?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a good time, but it's I like Florida, man. Florida's, especially for what we do. I feel like if I was gonna move to another city, I would like to be there and like immerse myself in it and work there and like experience it fully. But like, you need the convenience of Florida. You need to be able to just get in your car and drive to the store and pick up your groceries and go home and not kind of be bothered. In like any other city, it's like in Brooklyn, you gotta like walk in the snow to the grocery store, only buy as many groceries as you can carry back in the snow to your apartment. So like there's super small like things that I kind of didn't anticipate that became like a chore, and also just you kind of take your wrestling buddies for granted sometimes too, you know. And like having like spent a couple of years here in Florida, and like I thought like peace out, I want to enjoy New York and see what it's all about, and like it was a great experience. But I feel like I got so many great friends here, like Matt Bloom, someone who's helped me like incredibly my whole career, like since I met him in Japan, like transitioning to NXT. Like he put me up in his family home like for 3 months while I could find an apartment when I first moved here. So like so many people that like, you know, I essentially just missed because I was on the road by myself, going home by myself, like
in
no kind of,
you don't know anybody.
Yeah, you know, so
and it's hard to like meet people when you're coming home from being on the road, because really all you want to do is sleep and be left alone.
Sleep and do laundry, dude. And that was pretty much all I would do. Sleep, laundry, walk to a gym around the corner. That was it. So it wasn't really like the New York experience, but I'd love to spend some time in California. I'd love, like, my wife's going to kill me for saying this, but like someplace like super rural, like South Dakota or something like that. I would love that. But I feel like the convenience of Florida is just perfect for a wrestler with regards like movement, travel. Flights are normally pretty okay. Yeah. And like weather's always good.
That's the big thing is for like people out there. You're going to travel to different places, right? Yeah. You're going to say you're a sports entertainer, you're in the business, right? And you're going to travel to all these different places. You're going to travel to places that are cold. You're going to travel to places that are hot, that are wet. Yeah. But you want to always come back home to a place that's always going to be warm. Yeah. Because there's nothing worse than being on the road for X amount of time, being all beat up and sore, and coming home and it being freezing cold. Yeah. Your body is not going to appreciate that.
Not at all, dude. And like, we'd be doing loops like up in Canada, like Winnipeg, all these kind of areas, like up around the border and stuff. And it'd be like -30, snow blowing sideways, like can't drive. And then like you're up there for 4 days and you fly back and it's like palm trees and like sunshine and you're just like, thank
hell
God,
yeah.
you know? And like sometimes you even like forget that it's cold in these places, and I wasn't like packing accordingly. Right. So like I'm showing up like in shorts and just like a long sleeve t-shirt. I'm like, oh shit, it's like -20.
I started running that. I started running out of like, I didn't have winter jackets anymore or winter clothes. And I'm from Erie, Pennsylvania, which is like, we get hammered with snow. Yeah. So like, it's almost like blasphemous for like people where I'm from to hear be like, not have a winter coat or have things for winter time. And so it would be like traveling. I'm like, man, I'm not prepared for this. I'm going to throw this hoodie on. I'm going to throw the zip up. I'd have to layer up to prepare for going to like colder places.
On the contrast, growing up in Ireland, like super cold, wet climate, like super gloomy all the time, overcast. And when I moved to Orlando to start at the Performance Center, it was August 1.
Oh, damn.
And like, I couldn't understand for my life why civilization had set a home in this location. Like, why would you want to live in this humidity?
Disney, bro. Disney's why. That's the only reason why this place exists.
No,
is Disney.
I know. But I'm slowly starting to acclimatize to it. But like the same point, I was coming from this cold climate, so I'm like clothes were tailored towards being in the cold. So like I'm like wearing like warm woolly jumpers, but I'm like, why am I sweating so much? It's like 90 outside.
96, bro.
You know? So like I'd slowly like transition to like a Florida closet, but then like I'll make a trip home to Ireland and I'll like completely forget like how cold it truly is. Because even when you look at like your weather app and you read like whatever 15 Celsius it is, like it's not a true feeling of like that damp cold. And like I can explain it, dude. It comes up your bones, it comes up your shins, like into your knees, and you'll know it because it's the same where you're from. And it's so cold, man. So now I've got like a winter closet that basically applies maybe 1 week in Florida, or if I take a trip home.
Yeah. For an Erie, it's very similar in terms of gloom and overcast, but it's snow. We get hammered with snow all the time. And then the spring months, it'll be, it'll rain. But we get about 3 months out of the year in Erie where it is beautiful, dude. I'm talking about, because we're right on the lake. So you got the Great Lake. You have all these creeks that run, the runoffs from Lake Erie into the woods. So like if you're into the outdoors.
And the sounds off those creeks has got to be beautiful.
Dude,
right?
yeah. Oh,
the running water. Oh.
And then also just, you don't have to worry. So that's another thing. Growing up, I'd like play in the woods. But here.
Same in Ireland, yeah.
Here, there's no way I would play in the woods here. You know what I mean? Dude, there's so much shit that's going to kill you or like infect you. I mean, you've got reptiles here that could kill you. You have birds here that could kill you. Then just being in the water, you get some amoeba or some like parasite or some shit. So it's like the outside here is different than the outside.
I am scared of my life of snakes, dude.
All right, yeah, I'm not a big fan of snakes either.
Deathly afraid. Like I opened my door one day to like an Uber Eats delivery and there was like 2 little black racers like swarming around the food. I like shit my pants, dude. I jumped and like you can see it on the security camera. Like I went back and watched it. I'm like, shit. And the guy dropping off the Uber Eats was like, it's just 2 little black racers, dude. He completely stooged me off.
I'm not from here, bro. So like what's next for you?
I don't know, man. I feel like I don't know what's next. I feel like I'm finding my groove in NXT. I don't really know what's good or bad anymore. I feel like I'm either too deep in or not deep enough in that I don't know if my wrestling's good or bad or just average. So I love getting in.
I would say it's pretty good. Bro.
Well, I don't know. I'm my own worst critic for sure.
Oh yeah, I get that.
But I feel like the real challenge in NXT is that like every time I'm getting in the ring with someone, it's for the first time and it's on TV. Like it's like I've no like ring relationship with any of these guys, and there's no house shows, so there's nowhere to practice.
Yeah.
So like the first time I'm locking up with someone, it's like on live TV, and it could be like a takeover, it could be like a 3-seg on Wednesday night. So it's like it feels like super raw in the sense that like I'm really having to like focus and concentrate. Whereas like if I was locking up with like Corbin or Lashley or someone who I've worked 100 times, like it's like I could do it with my eyes closed because I know their movements, I've learned their movements, I know what they're gonna do, I can read their body language. So like it's like I'm on like super alert, like working with all these new guys. So like it's a real challenge. And like I know a lot of people like to, you know, like get kind of a repertoire with someone, but I kind of like just going in there and kind of like figuring it out. And I don't know, I really enjoy kind of like the virgin lockup of like how's it gonna feel, like, you know, like oh, he smacked me in the ear, or oh, I undershot it or something, like, you know, and like feeling like how they sell, like you don't know how they're gonna move, what their reverse is to a headlock, how they're gonna shoot me off, where their footing's gonna be when I come back. Are they gonna like be tight on me? Are they gonna give me space? So it's like super learning experience, and like I'm trying not to like critique myself too much, because all these matches are the first match, like the match with Johnny, the match with Riddle, the match with like Timothy Thatcher and Dexter last week. That was all like the first time I'd ever like touched these guys in the ring. So it's super cool learning experience. It's kind of like trial by firing squad, really. Like just like try and figure it out on live TV. You got one chance.
Don't mess it up.
Yeah. So I'm enjoying it. I don't know what's next. I used to think, maybe like around 40 I'll finish wrestling, but I feel like fitter than ever in the sense of like being in the ring. So I don't feel like my body's going to give out anytime soon. I don't have any plans on quitting or retiring. I'd love to do it as long as possible. As I feel like it's certainly achievable with this schedule. And I don't know, see what happens. But I've no interest in anything else except wrestling. I have a side project of a t-shirt company that I run, Peak, which I'm wearing right now, which stands for Peace, Equality, and Kindness. And it's really just like, I feel like there's so much like negativity in like the world that I just wanted to try and put a little bit of positivity. And if I can wear a t-shirt with a positive message, that can maybe a small fraction like illuminate the world a little bit. A lot of the shirts we do, we donate the profits to different charities. So we've worked with a lot of homeless charities, a lot of LGBTQ charities. Right now, this Black Lives Matter t-shirt goes to NAACP, civil rights movement. So I don't know, man. I've kind of spread out. Trying to get a visa, that's kind of the most important thing on my brain right now. I'm kind of locked into this. All the embassies are shut down, so my kind of visa, not expired, but I'm not allowed to travel. So I'm allowed to be here in the United States and work, but if I leave, I'm not allowed to come back. So if I would go over the border to Canada or to Mexico or home to Ireland, I'm not allowed to come back. So I'm kind of like stuck here, and that's kind of been my main focus. Like the last 2 months is like trying to like maneuver COVID, the embassies, the visa, the quarantines. If I do travel, I have to get back 2 weeks before I can wrestle. So that's kind of been like my obsession right now of like looking at calendars and dates and trying to like figure out which way is this possible. My brother's getting married in September, so I'm hoping that stars will align and the universe will be kind to me, and that will all work out. With the embassies will open and the visa will, and the wedding will happen, and we'll be good.
Hell yeah.
What about you? What have you got planned? Because I know you're always cooking something, man.
I'm trying, bro. I'm trying.
I'm a day to day. I like wake up and I'm like, And I've even been working with a personal trainer recently. It's super hard because I love the training. I hate being tied to a schedule. I hate it. Like I've been controlled by schedules my whole life with like wrestling, and the one schedule that was mine was my training. And if I wake up and I'm tired, I don't want to go. I'll go at 5 p.m. or I'll go at 8 p.m. or whatever. And if I wake up at 7 a.m. and I feel good, I'll go then. I don't like being tied to this 11 a.m. every day deal. So apart from that, that's all I got going.
I don't know. I mean, I'm sure you're probably aware of it, but like that positive message, just the fact that you change, your logo, the Finn Balor, just changing that to like the rainbow color, right?
Yeah.
I know how big of an impact that makes on people, which is crazy, right? Just something as simple of just embracing, a color scheme, a rainbow pattern, right? But like, I have people in my family that are a part of, like the gay community.
Yep.
And like my uncle in particular, and he's a huge fan of you. And like the thing that he brought up wasn't the wrestling about you, but it was like you didn't have to do that. Right? Like you didn't have to like make that a part of your thing. Mm-hmm. Right? And it's very subliminal, like very, it's just there. It's nothing major, but it's just a little something that's saying, hey, like I'm here with that. I'm cool with that. And I just know from him and, a couple other people that I know from that community, like how much that means to them. So like you are doing it, bro.
Thank you, dude.
You are putting that positive.
I feel like we have such a huge platform, like internationally with WWE, and like to kind of waste that opportunity to not use it for some good, because we're very restricted in what we can do because it's a wrestling company, an entertainment company, and we're giving people a product which they consume. So like we're very limited as to what we can change, but like a color scheme was something that I could definitely change.
Yeah.
And we were coming up to Wrestlemania. It was my first Wrestlemania, and I was in a triple threat match with Seth and The Miz against me. And there was talk about doing the Demon, and everyone was saying, "Oh, you're going to do the Demon. You know, your first Wrestlemania, you have to do the Demon. They have to see that big entrance in the big stadium with all the lights and the fireworks. It's going to be awesome." And I kind of came up with this idea that like I feel like the gay community is not like represented in wrestling at all. It's kind of like, or at that point it was kind of like not spoken about.
Yeah.
Right. And it would like, I just felt like it needed, like I have a lot of friends in that community. I know there's a lot of wrestlers in that community, and maybe there was something that happened that people were like reluctant to kind of be open about it. And for me, I didn't really have anything to lose in the sense that I'm a straight guy and that like I'm not going to be judged really. So I had this idea that
You're secure with
I'm
your manhood.
I'm secure with who I am, and you know, if people don't like me supporting like this cause,
other
then
human beings.
Right. So I brought this idea to WWE. And they were like super on board with it. As soon as Stephanie heard about it, she was super on board, pulled all the strings to get it all done over the line, and they got the shirts made at super short notice. So instead of the Demon, we went with the LGBTQ. It's a mouthful for me to say.
Yeah.
But so we went with that. But what we done was we got a community from New Orleans to come out on stage with me too. So it made it so much more special. So I feel like everyone was expecting the Demon, and then when it wasn't the Demon, they should have been let down. But I feel like it was even bigger than the Demon, and it was a bigger message than anything I could have done. And it was so much more like real in the sense of like touching people than like it wasn't entertainment. It was like a message of positivity. It wasn't like this is the Demon with cool paint and cool smoke and you can watch this and just enjoy it. It was like something that's positive, saying like you're welcome. Like I appreciate you. Like you're welcome in our industry. Like we're all the same. We're all humans.
Yeah.
Like there should be no discrimination at all. And like a lot of people even said to me, "Oh well, you know, some of your fans might not like this because, you know, it is kind of still, you know, a touch and go subject." And I was like, honestly, dude, if they don't like it, I don't want them as my fans, because they're not the type of humans that I want to be around, and I don't need that support or negativity around me at all. So it was something that I didn't even realize how big it was going to be and how many people it was going to affect in a positive way, and it's something that like I'm super proud of. Like people talk about like what are you proud of in your career, and like that trumps like titles and any kind of match, like getting that opportunity and having the support of the company to like step out and like spread a positive message at Wrestlemania, you know.
Hell yeah, dude. That's like, you took a moment, right? That is, and any wrestlers, like for any wrestler, their first Wrestlemania is like, I mean, that's like the holy grail, right? That's like one of the biggest moments of any wrestler's careers, to get to a point where you're in the WWE, but not just in the WWE, but like you're on Wrestlemania's card, the biggest show that we have, one of the biggest sporting events in the world. And like that airtime is priceless. Like legitimately, you cannot put like a numerical value on that. And you took that moment to not make it about you, but to make it about a group of people that needed some support, that needed a little bit of love and affection, right? With just something as simple as like changing your colors and letting a group of people come out, and you shared a moment where you would have been completely justified in being selfish and enjoying it as your own, right? And just being out there in center spotlight and just taking in all of that adulation from all of the people. and you decided like, no, I'm gonna share this moment. I'm gonna share my career's work, because that's, I mean, you think about it like this in the grand scheme, like an accumulation of those 20 years of work, eating SpaghettiOs, sleeping in freaking sleeping bags, right? Traveling the world, shitty pay, getting beat up, everything, to where you started seeing some success and then growing into what you are now, right? But you took all of that work, everything, and then it culminated to that point, and you made it about more than just you. That dude.
I like the way you articulated it. I really don't think that.
That's big time, bro.
Yeah.
That's big time. That's like some high character shit. It's another reason why I love you, bro.
The love is mutual, brother. The love is mutual.
We need more Finn Balor's in the world, bro. We need more Finn Balor's in the world.
Maybe he can take the bumps for me.
Dude, I'd give up a percentage, right? Not take a bump.
No, man. There's something addictive about bumps, dude.
It is kind of sick.
Yeah,
it's weird.
It's like a self-harming kind of like feeling of, I don't know.
There's a level of mass, like it's like a, what is it? Masochistic.
Yeah.
It's like a level of masochism, right? Yeah. Where there's like pain, but some of it is, I think it's that manliness, that masculine energy, where it's like, you know, that it's not people. It's kind of, people try to stay away from pain, right? Uh-huh. But you know that it's necessary to achieve a goal or a cause. So you like step into the pain. Mm-hmm. You are like, I will embrace this pain. Not only will I endure it, I will do it with a smile. You know? So then like you, as like any competitor, any ambitious person, like you've got to like trick yourself into doing shit that sucks. And like, that's one of those things where it's like, you trick yourself almost into like loving it.
Yeah.
And then you can't just bump. Like, you can't just flat back to the mat. Like, you have to attack the mat, right? Like, you have to fully commit to throwing your body as hard as you can.
The less you commit, the more it's going to hurt.
It's crazy. Dude, it's so backwards, right?
I know, right?
To think about hitting, like, you use less force to hit the mat and you hurt yourself more. You have a higher probability of hurting yourself if you kind of go through the motion of hitting the mat than you would if you gave 100% effort to hitting it.
I would rather come off the top rope with like a backflip, land perfect back bump, than like trip here and like land on your carpet, you know?
Dude, one time I like slipped on ice and I was like trying to catch myself. And I didn't, and I fell, and it hurt so bad, bro. Like, I felt like I took the life out of me for a second. I was like,
I slipped getting into the shower a couple weeks ago.
Oh, damn.
Before a takeover. It was one of these showers that it was like a bath, you know, that you have to step over. I stepped over into the bath. My foot went from under me, and I face bumped right on the rim of the bath. Man, I thought, man, I'm 38 at this point. I'm thinking like, it's downhill from here.
It's crazy how something like that though feels like the worst thing in the world, but like you could like, someone could body slam you, suplex you, beal you across the ring, and you just like pop back up.
It's that like control freak in us, right? We're in control of the choke slam, we're in control of the superplex, but like you slip in the shower, there's that like split second where you lose all control.
Yeah.
And you, oh shit, what's gonna happen?
And then that moment you get tense.
Oh yeah.
Right? Which makes things worse when you are about to make point of contact, and you get tense. Makes it worse for yourself. If you can just like relax, it almost in a weird way eliminates the majority of the pain.
Insane.
I think that's why I survived my one of the other.
So tell me about this crash. Have you spoken about it on the?
Yeah, okay. I've talked. Okay. We'll talk about it again, bro.
Okay.
It's a wild ass story.
Right, tell me about this accident.
So wrestling, I think wrestling did come into play for multiple reasons with this car accident. But so I'm driving down the road, right? It's like 7 p.m. It's a rural road, no side streets. I'm approaching an intersection. The sun's off into the distance. it's setting. I remember because it's super bright, because it's like right in my face. I'm like driving right into it. I'm approaching this intersection. Foreign intersection. I've never been in this part of town before. I start slowing down, anticipating some sort of stoplight, stop sign. Get a little bit closer, no stoplight. Thinking there's a stop sign. Get a little bit closer, no stop sign. This is weird, but maybe this is an intersection that doesn't have. It just has
It's a two-way stop.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So I let off the brake, coast through the intersection. Next thing I know, I'm waking up on the concrete, and there's 3 people hovering over me. I'm trying to figure out where I am, why I'm not in a car. I was just driving. Now I'm on the concrete. I hear an ambulance off in the distance. I hear people kind of yelling and screaming everywhere. There's just like kind of just chaos. But everything at this moment is like super foggy. And so I get up. And as I get up, the lady that was in the middle of the 3 that were hovering over me tells me her name, what she does, and just was like pleading with me to get back down and not to move. Because, I mean, you know how, like, especially anybody that plays sports, collision sports, there's a neck injury or a potential neck injury. You have to stay immobilized. Even if you can move, there's a chance that something could be fractured, and you moving just can be the difference between you having a full recovery and you being paralyzed. So I listened to her and laid back down. And that was the last thing that, so then I black out, and then I come to again on the stretcher, getting put into the ambulance. And where I was about 40 minutes from Orlando trauma. So they're like flying back to Orlando. And at this point, all my memory has come back to me. Like, so from this point, everything's like crystal clear to me. And I think a lot of it is because my adrenaline was just sky high at this point, and like that fogginess of being knocked unconscious was like gone because that adrenaline kind of pushed it through. So I'm like asking these dudes every single, like, where am I? What happened? Am I okay? Like trying to just figure out what happened. They tell me you were in a car accident and you were ejected through your front window. We think, you have a laceration on your head, you have cuts. It's like, we're worried that your neck is fractured. So yeah, I know that's like the last thing you want. It was a very scary moment to like hear that. And I immediately start flexing everything. I'm like locked down. My neck is strapped. My head is strapped. I'm harnessed, but I start moving my fingers, moving my toes. I start flexing, popping my pecs. Squeeze.
I'm pretty sure that's the thing we were talking about in our very first conversation. But continue, please.
Popping my pecs, flexing, and just literally flexing every single muscle in my body to make sure that I had control of everything. And I was like flexing everything, and everything was moving, and I felt super confident that I was okay, that I didn't have a broken neck. But I was still, I'm strapped to a stretcher, and I don't know how I got where I'm at. So there's still like that pending loom of like, I could have a broken neck. Like my life kind of could be completely different from this point on.
What was the time frame from, say, that ambulance ride to getting the confirmation that thankfully your neck was
probably intact? 2 hours.
Wow.
Maybe somewhere between 2 and 3 hours, because it took me about 30 minutes to get back to Orlando. They get me into Orlando trauma, and they had like a team waiting for me in the trauma center. It was just like, it was like a scene from ER. And so it's like, boom, I get out. They start poking, prodding.
So you're fully conscious and aware at this time.
Yeah. And they're poking, prodding, asking me every question because they couldn't find my wallet. So I was like in the system as John Doe.
Yep.
So they're asking me my name, this, that. Can I feel this? Can I feel that? Like, where do I feel pain? They're trying to figure out what is wrong with me as well. Finally, after X amount of time in the ICU, they take me for a CAT scan. And they do a CAT scan full length of my spine, my cranium, my pelvis, my elbow, because my left elbow was really jacked up. And they do the scan. I come out about 20 minutes later. The doctor comes out and he goes, "Dude, I don't know who you are or where you're from, but there's nothing wrong with you.
You're not from Earth. Take me with you.
He was like, you have a nasty laceration on your head that's gonna, you got 5 staples in there now, and you're gonna need about 12 more stitches. You got some road burn down the left side of your body, but other than that, you're good to go.
Wow.
And then they kept me overnight, and I was in there overnight, and I remember laying in the bed, dude, and because I didn't have my phone or anything, so that I couldn't even call anybody to come. And this was right when COVID happened. So they were like super strict with even letting people in. So I'm like in this dark ass room just alone. And like, I remember just thinking to myself, I just broke down emotionally, just was like crying, right? Because it was just like, man, I just like lost my car, I lost my car, I wrecked my car. I just flung across the street, but like I'm alive. And like things could be so much worse than they are. And like, I'm just so grateful. And I don't know why, like I shouldn't be alive. I hear a lot of times, I did a show about a week ago. It's called Superhuman Radio. It's a podcast, and they do a segment called Muscles Save Life or Muscles Save Lives. And we went on there and we talked, and we talked about training and how I kind of have taken care of my body over the years to kind of build the physique that I have. And we kind of correlated me being able to walk out of the hospital the very next morning on my own because of the training, which it's nice to say and talk about. And I imagine it may have a small role into why I was, but I can't take the credit because that happens 1,000 times, 999 times. I'm not sitting here talking to you.
Yeah.
And no matter how big and how strong I am, a car moving at 60 miles an hour is just, that force is more than the human body could even endure. So something larger than myself was at work that day.
What do you think is controlling this whole thing that we're experiencing right now?
So this is something that I've been, maybe trying to wrap my mind around my entire life, but more recently, I think that there's an interconnectedness between everything in the universe, from human beings to animals to inanimate objects to stars to things that we don't even know exist. And I think everything is so connected. Our energies, our frequencies are all so connected. I think whatever is controlling all of this, I don't know if it's necessarily any one thing. I think it is a collective. I think and I don't know if I'm articulating this right or if I'm even capable of articulating this properly, but I feel from my experiences that when we go through this life as humans, hopefully we get to the point where we realize we get away from the individual aspect and realize that we are way more connected. And I think that is kind of where we come into all this fighting and tension that we have in the world now, is because we're not able to see ourselves as a whole and only see each other as individuals. But I think when you go through this life, at some point you will have a kind of a moment, an aha moment. It may happen earlier in your life. It may happen on your deathbed, but you're going to realize that we're all interconnected, and that when you die, you come back as another person, and you just keep coming back as different people in different experiences until you've lived every single life. And then once you get to that point, that's like what the enlightenment, right, process that these different religions talk about, Buddhism, Christianity, Islam. They all kind of have very similar, they're all very different, but they have, if you look and read, you see that there's a lot of very similar kind of teachings and thought processes. And I think to get to that, and I don't know if you ever get to that, right? The vastness of this universe is beyond my comprehension, beyond probably any of our monkeys' brains comprehensions, yeah. Right? We're just some hairless monkeys out here trying to figure it out, dude. And I think we are God. we are whatever the creator is as a collective. I don't know if this is true. This is just, I don't know, pseudo bro science maybe, I don't know.
So from my experiences, I feel very much along the same lines as you. And I feel like, you know, we look to find like a higher power in the sense of it's God, or it's aliens, or it's nature, or it's something completely different, or just the energy of the universe. And I really feel like all the things I just explained are essentially the same thing. And it's just whatever way we look at it. If you believe in God, it's just another form of believing in the aliens or the higher power and the architects of everything, or that the energy in the universe, essentially whatever we choose to believe in is the real thing.
Yeah.
But it's all the same. No matter what way you describe it, it's all the same. It's all just energy. It's God's energy, aliens' energy, nature's energy, the interconnectivity of this carpet and the grass outside on the street, and, you know, this lamp that you've got here. Like, I feel like everything's the same. And anytime I've ever had like an experience where I've went into myself and tried to identify and separate myself, and then like introduce thoughts of another person or another thing into that experience, I've realized that you don't need to. That person is you. You are that person, and that it's all the same. And I've certainly had experiences of like enlightenment where I have like this very curious brain of like space, aliens, are they here, are they not here? So for me, any kind of experience of enlightenment I have, if I visualize it, it's always an alien being. Whereas I'm sure as if someone who is of Christian belief would see that as like the God.
Right.
So I feel like it's really just from your perspective, but we're all seeing the exact same thing. And I've had like experiences where I've been like communicating with this alien being and asking like, am I okay? Like, am I good here? Like, am I doing a good job? And like, whatever it was, I can't quite describe, but he would just say, yes, you're fine. You're doing great. Enjoy this life that you have right now. And when it's over, you'll come back with us and everything will be fine. And it was like super peaceful, super tranquil, like experience of just knowing that this life is essentially like a journey on to the next step, whatever it is. And maybe we come back again and do another journey and another journey, or it goes on to something else. But I definitely feel same like you, that we are all connected, and that mostly any kind of issues that we have with each other are issues that we have with ourselves, and we're just kind of like projecting those issues onto other people, you know. So I feel like really kind of trying to embrace everyone, understand everyone from every different walk of life is like really the first kind of step in the way of having a good journey through this, whatever we're experiencing right now.
Yeah. I think you nailed it, or you touched on it, is like going inward, that process of going inward.
Yeah.
Because so many people we're going out, right? We're looking for external things to help us understand the life that we're living. Like, why are we here? Like, to find some sort of fulfillment or satisfaction from external forces. But the real work is inward and not outward. And when you go in, that introspective process, it's hard, right? You know, it's fucking terrifying, dude. You know, and because
I don't want to expose myself to understand who I am, to understand why I have all these problems and these issues and these questions, and it's scary, man, and it's infinite. It goes infinitely out into space, but it also goes infinitely inside into your heart, your soul, your being, your energy. And when you start to kind of journey inwards, that's where it can get very scary. But also once you start to embrace that, man, it can become so enlightening.
I feel like life truly starts when you go inward.
Yeah.
When you initiate that process for whatever reason, like sometimes it's an external factor, something kind of happens to you that like forces you to go inwards, and you can have that experience and then you can ignore it and act like it never happened and continue on with your life, or you can acknowledge that it happened and be like, whoa, I've got a lot of work to do and like I need to go deeper. And I've found, I've had that moment, like that spark in the dark moment, right? That, oh shit, I don't know jack shit. But that little light that flashed that let me know that I didn't know jack shit, I looked over in that direction, and it was brief. It was a glimpse, but now I knew what direction to kind of start going in. And then I'd head in that direction, and another spark would go off and it would get me, and I would start learning lessons. You know, it's like you said, having to learn shit about myself that I didn't want to learn, because now it's like, oh, I am kind of an asshole sometimes, or maybe I am impatient, or maybe I was dismissive of this person's feelings. And it's like, well, why was I? Or I'm the reason why there is this problem in my life. You know, like I wasn't able to obtain these goals because I am the true issue here, which I think ultimately when you do enough introspective work, there is there is no fault outside of yourself. All of the problems we have in our life start with us. And I thought when I was younger, I kind of went through this process and I learned a bunch of lessons, and it really helped me to allow me to really propel to the next level of my life. And I got a lot of success after that happened. And I was like, man, I've kind of got this figured out. And right.
And right when you think you got it figured out.
I love that you knew where that was going. As soon as you think there was like a whole nother level of things. And a lot of the things that I had to learn, you know, this next stage that I had to learn to get to the next level that I needed to get to, were really, it wasn't anything new. It was the same shit I had to learn, but the universe, the creator, brought a new set of challenges to expose me, right? To expose my weaknesses, right? And like, that's why I say, if you have a lot of people complain about the problems they have in their life. And it's like, if you have problems, then that means you're living. You know, like that's a sign of life, is to have problems. And truly, you should be happy that you have problems, because your greater self is on the other side of those problems. If you embrace them and go inward and just don't run, you don't hide, you don't look for excuses or any pats on the back. You just look yourself in the mirror and just roll up your sleeves and get ready to do the work.
I love it, dude. What a conversation.
Oh, that might be a good spot to end this. I don't
think
know.
So, dude.
Okay. Well, bro,
Dan,
I love you.
I love you too, man. It's always a pleasure.
I appreciate you doing this for me. I appreciate spending the time with you and having this great conversation.
Dude, I would do this every day.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Well, so if you ever want me to come back on with a guest, anything at all, I'm down, man.
Hey, bro, we can do whatever. There's no rules to the show. There's no rules here. So
I love it.
All right, brother.
Yeah, congratulations, dude.
Hey, congrats to you.
Yeah.
I love you. I appreciate you.
Love you, buddy.
Later.